Good morning and welcome to Gospel Bytes, where we take a bite at the Gospel for the day. Today is Monday, May 13th. It's the anniversary of the first appearance of Our Lady at Fatima. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. This is taken from John chapter 16, verses 29 to 33. The disciples said to Jesus, "Now you are talking plainly and not in any figure of speech. Now we realize that you know everything and that you do not need to have anyone question you. Because of this, we believe that you came from God." Jesus answered them, "Do you believe now? Behold, the hour is coming and has arrived when each of you will be scattered to his own home, and you will leave me alone. But I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have told you this so that you might have peace in me. In the world you will have trouble, but take courage. I have conquered the world." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So Jesus foretells what's going to happen to the early Christians, his apostles. And there's something sad that he said. He said, "The hour is coming and has arrived when each of you will be scattered to his own home, and you will leave me alone." Imagine our beloved Lord will tell his apostles, you think you're going to be with me, you're going to leave me alone. It's a very sad thought. And nobody wants to be alone because we always equate alone with loneliness. And is it true that God, sometimes when we have our problems, we think that God has left us on our own. But sometimes I think, is it God who really left us, or it is God who left us? Is it us who left God? There was a story of this girl who was Catholic, and she was dating this Protestant boy. And the girl said, "Let's go and visit this Catholic church. Jesus is there." So they went in, and she pointed to the boy. She pointed at the tabernacle. "Jesus is in there." And the boy looked around and saw the church was empty. It was dark, very quiet. And he said, "How can that be? If Jesus is here, then this church will be full of people all the time." And sometimes it makes us think that when we think God has left us, when in fact it is we who have left the Lord. During the pandemic, in my previous parish, I allowed people to come in and have adoration. We opened the church for individual adorations. We have the Blessed Sacrament exposed, and people would sign up. As long as they're willing to stay, they will open the church for them. And there will be people signing up all the way until 8 o'clock in the evening. So from 10 in the morning till 8 o'clock, there's always somebody adoring the Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. But when the pandemic waned, then people started to cancel, and we had to cut off the adoration time, cut off until 3 in the afternoon, and then until noon. And there were times when we couldn't even get people to adore for 2 hours. So sometimes it's not, when you think about it, God never leaves us, and sometimes it is us who leave the Lord. But it is a question of this, what Jesus said, "You will leave me alone." And we always equate loneliness with being alone. And I've seen a lot of people on that fear that when I was going to become a priest, when I was discerning, I was thinking about the life of the priests when they get older. They're left alone. They had to look after themselves. And I think that's why some priests in their middle age, they leave the priesthood or they get married, or some of them they focus more on saving for themselves because nobody's going to take care of them when they get older. So that was a fear that I had to struggle with when I was discerning the priesthood. But Jesus said, "But I am not alone, because the Father is with me." And that has been my consolation from the very start, that God is the one who called me. He is the one who's going to sustain me. You know, my friends, my relatives can only be with me at a certain time, but at a certain point. But later on, it will just be me and God. You know, in time of sickness, in times of great tribulations, it will only be God who will be there. They can only, my friends, my family can only be with me to a certain point. And and in my priestly ministry, I've seen a lot of people who think that, well, you know, I'm getting old. I better get married because I don't want to grow alone, to grow old alone. But in my ministry, I've seen a lot of people who have families and they are alone. Their children don't visit them, they don't even call them. And sometimes even those who are still in their families, you know, they suffer neglect from their spouse or from their children. And so having people around does not guarantee happiness. You know, we can be alone but still be lonely. Yeah, on the contrary, I've met a lot of people who are single or who have been widowed, and of course they miss their spouse, but they are sustained by their faith. They realize that, you know, I'm never alone. I occasionally loneliness hits, but you realize you're never alone. God has always been with us from the very beginning, and He will be with us until the very end. And their faith has been their source of comfort and strength. Because without faith, it's a lonely world. You could be in a crowd and still feel lonely. You could be with your family and still feel lonely. uh, Or you can be alone and realize that in times of loneliness, it is God who is calling us to be His companion in His loneliness, in His solitude. Yeah? When God is all alone in the tabernacle, when He was on the cross, His apostles abandoned Him, Peter denied Him, Judas betrayed Him. Yeah? He was all alone. And uh, but Jesus never, He was talking to the Father, and he never really felt alone. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and Mary was at the foot of the cross. Perhaps that's why we're close to our mothers, because they are never far away. You know, even if all our friends have left us, our mothers would still be there to comfort us, to console us, tell us we're never alone. But even them, they could only be with us at a certain point. When it comes to sickness, they cannot feel what we go through, you know? And eventually it will be God who will be our companion until the very end. So this is our consolation, but also our happiness. Now, if our happiness is just to be with people, then the day will come when these people might not be there anymore. We won't have any more happiness. But if our happiness is to be with the Lord, to be the companion of the Lord, then we will never be disappointed, because God is always there with us. So whenever you feel lonely, realize that this is God calling you to share in His loneliness, but to realize that um, just like this story that this man said, "You're all alone there. I'm all alone here. Let's just keep company. Let's keep each other company." That the world may not be there for us. It may reject us or even persecute us, but God will always be there. This is our happiness as Christians, to know that God is always with us. So I'm Father Jerry Sembrano, hoping and praying that you will be happy with the company of Jesus. This is another edition of Gospel Bytes. God bless you. Have a nice day.